That's looking good. Hey, welcome everybody. Good to have you all here today. Um, I know that people are going to be chiming in here for a second, so I'll just wait 1 minute until everybody kind of starts to cascade in. A number of you have been here, and I'm really appreciative of that. So I'm grateful. Um, really been thinking about everybody in this day and age. So happy that you're here. It means a lot. And thank you for taking 20 minutes of your time every night. In the last 2 weeks, I've been doing this now. And as you can see, the background's changed a little bit. I've gotten a little more professional about all this, but so happy that you're here and excited that you're getting some good things out of this. And some of you have been sending me messages, and I hope that I've been able to get back to everybody with your questions and thoughts and comments. Yeah, new ministry, right? Not really the old stuff, as some of you will know. It's pretty different. And so, hey, let's get it back into the prayer of Saint Francis, because the next stanza is um, is equally as challenging. And it goes like this. It goes like this. Okay, so I'm just going to read the whole thing up into where we are, and then I'll repeat where we are. So, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. And our topic tonight is, O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be understood as to understand. So, grant that I may not so much seek to be understood as to understand. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Boy, if there was ever a time to try and pull back from what we know and to seek to understand other people, now's the time. Because you know what, quite frankly, we love to judge. We love to pick other people apart. We love it. It just sometimes it distracts us from all our worries if we can point a finger and blame somebody else for something or somebody else. And there's a whole lot of that going on right now, as you know. And maybe you're feeling this too. You're just feeling that there's finger pointing going this way and that way, and nobody really is sort of taking responsibility. And even if they do, somebody's complaining about it. It's not being done the right way. And where's the money going? And is there fraud already involved? I mean, you can throw a stick in almost any direction and find somebody really not trying to understand a gosh darn thing. And it happens even in the simplest, because you know why? Because we're stressed. We're stressed. We're anxious. We are struggling with something that is bigger than life, bigger than anything any of us have ever had to deal with. And some of you who are on the front lines must be feeling this, because it's really hard to be patient. It's really, really hard to stop and pause and feel comfortable in the silence, and maybe comfortable in not having the answers, because we all love having answers. We want to fix things. We want to be directed. We want to have truth. We want to focus on what we can do, not what we can't do, right? It's just it is so hard to be in that place where we seek to understand. Um, I went through today, just for example. I had a day where I was struggling with what to say to a lot of my clients. And I had to just pause and realize that really what they wanted was to feel good. What they wanted was to understand that what they really want is to know that everything's going to be okay eventually. And I think that's the message we want to hear too. That after all said and done, we want to know that everything's going to be all right. And I think, and that's part of understanding. And that's also part of seeking to understand, to be understood. So let's 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 uh let's recognize that we're in a place right now in our country, in our lives, where it is vitally important to seek to understand. Um, and that, if we're trying to fill our own cups right now, um, it, it's better to have an open ear. It's better to have an open heart. It's better to be patient and to pause and be kind. And it's better to 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 um, to wait upon the Lord, as the good book says. And what does that mean? It means to just kind of let things unfold. And here was my example today. I was rushing around trying to fill out small business loan applications because my massage therapy business has been out of action for basically 3 weeks, and I don't see things really improving. So I'm filling out all kinds of forms, and I filled out one last night. Somebody told me, "Oh, well, that's not it. You got to wait for another form." And another form came out, and it had changed. And yet, I did 3 forms. And when I was ready to submit it, there were all kinds of other forms that I had to, accompany that form, and they wanted records, and they wanted this, and my license number. I mean, holy moly! Um, I just had to kind of step back and say, "Okay, Lord, I don't really understand all of this, and I'm just going to have to kind of wait in line and wait for things to kind of get clear." And that is a really hard thing to do. I had to seek to understand, and I had to be patient with my own intensity around it because I wanted to submit it. I wanted to make sure I got in. I wanted to, it's one of those human things, right? We want to get in as soon as we can. And it's a process. And I'm going to have to wait in line. And I'm going to have to get a call from a bank. And I'm going to have to provide documentation. And I'm going to have to seek to understand what they want from me so that I can prove and they can feel confident that the loan I get, whenever I get it, if I get it, is going to be worthy of being paid back. And it's, no matter what I've heard out there, that's the other part. I've heard these loans are going to turn into grants. I've heard all kinds of things. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm in a place where I have to step back and I have to ask God to grant that I may not so much seek to be understood as to understand, which means I have to step back. I can't control this process. I don't have a lot of power over things. I have to seek to understand. And that means we have to be calm, we have to be present, we have to have full hearts and be open and not jump to conclusions. And man, my suspicion is a lot of us are doing that right now. We are jumping to conclusions, and we are responding. We are not responding, we're reacting, right? A lot of us are reacting. So here's what I want to do right now. Let's just chill out. Let's just have a moment where it's a Friday, right? It's a Friday, and we really need to just step back and process the week because it's been a rough week, I think, for a lot of people. And the news doesn't seem to get much better, and that's why I don't watch much of it, frankly. Um, and let's get into a good meditative stance. So, for those of you who've been with me the last couple of weeks as we've been doing this, um, let's let's make sure our posture is good, centered, what I call a horse posture, where we're sitting upright and our feet are on the ground, because that is the flow. Um, that is good godly flow, frankly, good posture, uh, which allows us to feel as though the energy of God is flowing through us from head to toe. And then here's what we're going to do. I want to call upon um, our understanding of God, and God can be understood through so many mediums, right? I've said this before. It could be the God of your upbringing. whether it's Protestantism or Catholicism, Christianity, spiritualism, Father God, Mother God, Spirit God, God of the earth, a God, the God of Mother Mary, the God of Jesus, the God of Yahweh, the God of the goddess, Gaia, of the earth, Shiva, Shakti, Buddha, angels of light. I mean, there are so many ways to describe divinity in our lives. And whoever that may be, I invite that deity to be in your life right now. So take a pause, just pause and relax. And imagine a fire, an outdoor fireplace, a perfect circle, lots of big rocks. And in that fireplace, there are logs that have been crackling and smoking and burning for a good couple of hours. And there's a golden set of coals glowing underneath, red, vibrant, burning, smoldering, really inviting us into what I call the edge of fire, the edge of God's delight. Fireplaces and these kinds of ceremonies that take place around fires are very sacred. It's a very sacred thing to be around fire, probably because it has so much power historically. It has this power for the indigenous tribes. It has power for those of us who go out camping. It is the way that draws people together. It draws our hearts. It sets our attention ablaze. So consider a fire. And think of peace right now. A peace that passes all understanding. Think of strength, your strength, the strength of others. Strength during a time when we can use a lot of strength right now, a lot of depth, a lot of grace, and a lot of light. To be aware of the love in our lives, our loved ones, our families, our children, our friends, some of whom are near us and some of whom are far away. Think of people around the world and the love that we have for the people, all people around the world who are struggling today. Let's be thoughtful of the guidance that we've received, the community that we live in, the frontline workers, the emergency workers, people who are just doing whatever they can to be socially distant and abide by the encouragement to not interact so that we can keep this virus at bay. Let's be thoughtful of what gives us joy. Maybe this fireplace, as you gaze into the coals, is just enough joy to get you through the evening. And maybe in that gaze, you are aware of the wonder of your life, how you have been able to be a conduit of grace and light to other people. And how in that gaze and in those moments of connectedness, you can be curious and deep and alive in your conversations and the depth of your discussion with loved ones and friends, where you're able to communicate your wisdom, your ease, where you can understand how you have forgiven others and how you have been forgiven. Because with that comes clarity, beauty, power, and a sense of surrender. How important it is to surrender right now, surrender to what we can't control, to surrender to all the things that are happening around us that we can't, we don't have a lot of power over, which gives us the chance to be courageous, to have the courage to go inward, to go deep, and to understand that this could be a time where you reinvent yourself, where you recognize the needs of others. And perhaps it's a time when you're out of work and there are projects and there are things that you always wanted to do that now you have the time to do, and to take the courage and to be brave and pushing forward with your ideas. Maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's this, that, or the other thing. But as you gaze into the fire, Think about how you've been a healing presence for those who have been scared, for those that have been troubled, for those that are disappointed. Find that power. Find the valor in that. And find your wholeness. Wholeness. I love that word. Are we whole in this circumstance? Invite God to help you be whole, whatever it may be, and thereby find the gratitude and the appreciation for the things that you have in your life. I think what happens so often here, even in our meditation, is we start to think about what we don't have, and we get a scarcity mentality, and we think of lack, and we don't think of how abundant we really are. And in that gaze, as we look at the fire and the flames that flicker around the logs and rise up into the sky, remember who we are. Who are we? People of value, people of worth, people who care. Remember why we came. Why are we here? Is it just to kind of pass through life, collecting things as we go? Consider in this meditation why we came. What divine spark allowed us to be here right now? And then consider who sent you. Who sent you? I'm not the only one who thinks that we all have a purpose in this life. We have a chance to reclaim who we are. We have a chance and the potential to find the sacred in this fire, in this moment, looking at the flames, feeling its warmth, feeling its power, feeling its potential. This is what God is actually asking us to be. The God of your understanding is asking all of us to step out and be who we are right now against all the stuff that we're feeling out there. We're seeing lots of examples of strength, of purpose. So in this meditation, awaken to the truth that is inside of us. And in that truth, we find perseverance, acceptance, kindness, honor, blessing, service, and hope. Hope. And in that hope, there is a sense of passion. There is a sense of innocence. There is a sense of our truth, which is now unfolding. Unfolding. The truth of who we are, why we came, and who sent us is just beginning to lick the timbers of the beings that we are. And I hate to say this, even in the meditative spirit, but if we didn't have adversity in our lives, we wouldn't find out who we are, what we are, and why we came. I'll give you. So in our meditative spirit, consider these things. Consider the grace of God that is awakening us to a new reality. And let us pray. O God of our understanding, fill us with acceptance. Fill us with the joy that comes when we think of all of these things that we can be and emulate and share with the world around us. But most importantly, we need to direct that even at ourselves. Because if we direct it at ourselves, we'll be able to direct it to the people around us. Let's have some belief and to be understood. as we understand others. Yeah, it's the proverbial God. It's the proverbial means of looking to the needs of others first. So help us to be in a prayerful place, a vulnerable place, a heartfelt place, where we actually seek to understand first before we are understood. It takes guts, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes perseverance, it takes ambition, it takes blessing, it takes courage. It takes a lot of things. But these are the things that make us who we are.